And now we have to talk about what that phasing into would be. If you're out of something, you need to go into something else, just as your own journey led you out of conventional dentistry into more of this functional holistic dentistry.
Yep.
So that journey, your own experience led you. What was it like after that? So you found out, okay, the mercury is a big deal. I'm not going to do that anymore. But what am I going to start to do and change my conventional ways into something new? What was that transition like?
It's interesting because I had to find out, was there a way to do this, to remove these fillings and not breathe it in? And, now I think about it, I'm drilling a filling out, their head's there and my head's here, it's like, that's exactly where those vapors are going to come. It makes every sense in the world to me now, but it just wasn't even introduced as a concept before. But I had to look, was there an organization that was doing this? And the answer is yes, there actually is. There was an organization that already has protocol called the SMART Protocol, Safe Mercury Amalgam Removal Technique. You can go out there, you can look at their protocol, and it just walks you through exactly what you should do as a dentist. So I started doing this as a dentist. I started doing this for my own sake, for my own health. And all of a sudden, patients would come in and they would look around like, all right, you're doing some crazy stuff here. I'm wearing a great big mask and we're covering them. And they would ask, what are we doing? And of course, I would explain before they even ask, this is why we're doing this in a different way now. It's for my health, but I think this is a great thing for you too. Isn't this awesome that we've thought about, could this be a problem for you as well? And so patients started becoming very appreciative and saying, gosh, well, yeah, I'm really glad you're doing that. And, my doctor mentioned something about that. Can I tell them about you? And so we started talking to doctors. And the interesting thing is they knew a lot more about my profession than I did. From a health standpoint, a lot more about my profession. And so they started asking things like, oh, do you do ozone? And oh, do you do stem cells? And oh, do you do these other things? And I'd have to say, I have no idea what that is. Let me go find what that is. And then I can learn and then I can know more about it. And really, when we started diving into this, what do you turn to? The only word I knew was holistic. But here's the problem that I have with holistic. And this is why I actually call what I do health-based dentistry. The problem I have with holistic is when I tell you, maybe not you, maybe some of the people that are listening, when I tell you holistic dentistry, a picture comes into your mind. And it might have somebody in tie-dye and hold a peace sign and, some beads hanging in the doorway and incense burning. And, we're doing some chanting and waving things in the air, like there's just there's a stereotype that goes with that word.
New age hippies, right?
New age hippies, that's what it is. That's the holistic stereotype. And in fact, just today on social media, somebody was blasting me. I have no idea who this dentist is. No idea who this is. Just blasting me. Saying, yeah, she has all these holistic patients. And she did this little,
the air quotes.
Holistic thing, And I was like, wait a minute. Okay, this is what I talk about, that this concept of holistic has really become a stereotypical, that's not backed by science.
Yeah.
That's not what I am. And that's not what I do. And so that's why I call it health-based. Basically, holistic should mean we recognize that the body's all one whole. Like your teeth are actually connected to you. If you've never noticed, your teeth are connected to you.
Absolutely.
They probably have something to do with it. But for some reason, that got sidetracked, and holistic just means you're crazy and you're not backed by science. But that's not what I am. I actually have to back everything I do double and triple because people are questioning me. They're saying, well, how can you say that about mercury? And I can say, here's how I can say it. Here's the 10 PubMed research articles that show that what I'm telling you is actually true. And so I can back that. So really my journey in holistic or health-based dentistry was that I had to say, okay, I'm not going to do mercury fillings anymore. I wasn't doing them anyway. But now I said, okay, I'm going to remove it in a safe way. All right, why? Why am I going to remove it in a safe way? Well, because mercury does lodge in your brain and it causes X and Y. It causes these things. Okay, let's back that up. What else could be caused by it? Gosh, what are these root canals all about? How about when a wisdom tooth is removed? Does that do anything? And how about like metal implants? Or so I just started questioning all of these things. And instead of just going to the crazy talk place and saying, oh, well, I just think it should all come out, I'd have to go, you know what? No, I'm going to research this to the umpteenth degree. And I'm going to find 15 research articles to back what I am now saying about infection at the end of a root canal or whatever it might be. So my practice went from a general dental practice to a state-of-the-art, highly researched, backed by science, the most technologically advanced place you will walk into kind of practice, because I want what I do to be 100% good for your health. And I want to be able to say, hey, your health is suffering and there may be something in your mouth that's causing it. So that was really where my journey went, is what else could be going on? What else could the mouth be influencing? And what can I really study and research to find out that I can share with people about this?
Yeah, I mean, you're so right that these words holistic, alternative have been co-opted. Unfortunately, the perception is not a positive one.
It's
As
not.
much as it's just a word, like, you look at things from a holistic perspective. Let's say if you're studying, you want a more holistic viewpoint. You want to be open to things. You want to see it from different prisms and perspectives. But yeah, I think that's partly to do, the conventional realm has done a very good job at saying, woo-woo stuff out there, new age, no science, follow the science. When the truth of the matter is, like you said, most of the people that I know that have gotten into something outside of the conventional, which you could call holistic, integrative, functional, all these
Whatever.
things,
Yeah.
have to be much more scientific about, because they have the burden of proof. They themselves were skeptics. They started conventionally. They understood what they were doing. They experienced something else. And they shifted. And they said, but I want to prove it first. I want to prove to myself. I want to take the burden of skepticism on and then show this is actually more scientific. And what you start to see is kind of the other realm of it maybe isn't as scientific as we thought. Maybe it is a lot more guesswork and not really based in modern studies of what we're learning. I mean, the idea that mercury is not hard, we know it's been harmful forever. And the studies are only showing more and more and more just how harmful it is to the system, even in small amounts, like vapor coming out over time very slowly can absolutely have such a systemic effect, especially on the neurological system.
Yep, absolutely. It's interesting because there's just a lot of information that's always kind of bantered about, but honestly, standard of care in practice, that's what we have to practice through, is standard of care. A lot of it is just what we've always done.
Yes.
And we often will say things like, and you might hear this, that the education in professions is typically about 15 years even behind practice. So if I were to go to a dental school today, they're teaching things that I was practicing 15 years ago. And they're going to teach what I'm doing in practice now about 15 years from today. So it is not an up-to-date thing. It's just a lot of what we've always done. So honestly, those of us who are really questioning and, like you said, bearing this burden of proof are usually much more researched than those that are just doing. And they're just doing what they've always done, but they don't really know why. Well, we have really taken the time and effort, put an effort to find the whys. And that's why we're questioning, because we're finding, oh, maybe that thing that we've always done doesn't make much sense. It's just what we've always done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it definitely has changed. So that's really what I had to do, was I just had to start questioning. And in those questions, then searching for answers that I could back by science and back by also experience. What results were we seeing when we were doing these procedures for patients? What was happening, and using that experiential knowledge also to really guide and what we're doing from a health standpoint for patients too. So my practice is pretty much 180 from what it was before. But yeah, we're still doing dentistry, and we're still doing the best dentistry you're going to find anywhere. But it's just, we're taking a completely different approach to the dentistry we do.
Right. And I think part of that different approach, as I understand it, is not just what happens within the walls of your dental practice, meaning the procedures and everything. It's how you're empowering the patients when they leave to, let's say, eat properly. And I think that is a big part of what you have to look at when you look at things like the oral microbiome, which we've seen more and more of a focus on. Of course, we know our gut microbiome. Everyone's talking about it. I mean, all the big companies now are doing different types of Activia, yogurts and these things. But, we still miss, I think, a big part of the understanding of the oral microbiome and how much conventional type of products like Listerine and others actually harm the oral microbiome.